Let's try that again. Good morning, beloveds. Oh, my hair looked better this morning before I got out into the humidity. Yeah, it was only like a 40% chance of rain yesterday, and it rained basically from about 3:15 until 10 o'clock. And we had rolling thunderstorms. Like, we rolled through the red zone at least 3 times last night. The weather was kind of interesting. Although, from what I saw, Shirley had it worse than me, because there was so much rain in her backyard. Like, it was threatening to come in the house. So mine never quite got up to my doorstep. It would ease off, and then it would drain, and then it would start again. So, all right. Weather's been something, and we're gonna have chances of thunderstorms through the weekend. So another 10 days of ugh. So, if you see high water, turn around, don't drown. Okay, we are here to do living the science of mind. So what we need to do is the housekeeping first. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. The constant contact email is info@creativelife.org. That if you email that gets you on a constant contact. You get 1 email a week unless something unusual happens, because it's hurricane season and we are in hurricane country. But it's also a blind CC, so nobody will see your email. You won't end up on anybody else's email, and the hot links are hot. So, it tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and if it says click here now, it'll take you right to the information or the person that can help you get it. So, that's really cool. All right. What else? Oh, social media. We do not monetize the social media. So what we ask you to do is to engage with the platforms. Engage with engage with our platforms. So go like, follow, subscribe based on the platform, and then on the posts, go like, subscribe, and share. Go like, comment, and share. It bumps us in the algorithm, so we'd appreciate that. All right, I think that's everything. So we are doing, this book is a collection of essays. My pet theory is people kept asking Ernest questions, so he created an at-home course. It was in the back of the Science of Mind magazine. You can mail off for it. But I think people would write to Ernest or call him or, walk up to him after a lecture and say, tell me more about this. So because when you Google it, it says, Ernest's commentary on his own seminal work, meaning the Science of Mind text. But all of these essays were taken from that 48-week at-home Science of Mind course, which is really cool, which has been bound and published. So you can get a hold of that if you would like. So today we are doing, it's one of those titles. What? Specializing the mental law of cause and effect. Oh, garbage truck. I was like, what is that? Garbage truck. Okay. Specializing the mental law of cause and effect. You are already familiar with the mental law of cause and effect, with the idea that mind in action is law, and with the principle upon which all mental practice is based, that we are surrounded by a universal creative mind which receives the impress of our thought and acts upon it. This mind is entirely impersonal, neutral, and plastic. It is subjective or subconscious to our thought, which means it must receive the impress of our thought as we think it, and must, because of its nature, tend to create after the pattern of thought, which is really important. Tend to create after the pattern of thought, which means not every individual thought is necessarily creative, but your pattern of thinking is. So, you don't have to worry about the individual thoughts, but you definitely need to weed your garden, because if you get too many of one thought, that's what the universe is going to create for you. This universal subjectivity, once it is set in motion, continues to work until the tendency set in motion is neutralized. But we cannot neutralize the law itself. Laws are eternal, changeless, and immutable. We cannot neutralize the law, but we can reverse our position in it. We cannot change its nature, but we can specialize the nature. I think both of those sentences are really, really important. Basically, we have to change our relationship to the law. We can't change the law, so we change our position to the law. relationship with it. Okay, law as specialized by personality is represented by the two pillars that stood in front of the Temple of Solomon, Joachim and Boaz. One meaning the law, the impersonal creative medium, and the other the word or personal element. Here we have personality and law combined, and it is through these two pillars that we must enter the temple, which symbolizes the nature of reality and our innermost life. The word of personality and the law of impersonality, symbolized by these two pillars, constitute the great mental law of cause and effect, which Emerson called the high chancellor of God, and to which the Bible refers when it says, "Whatsoever a man soweth, so shall he also reap." We should not forget that this law is a doer, not a knower, which is exactly what Jesse just said yesterday. The law is a doer, not a knower, meaning it is not judgmental. It's not going to look at what you just asked for and say, "Do you really want that?" Dick Schmeltzkopf would ask that question, but the law will not. It has no choice of its own, nor does it have any desire of its own. It is a blind, intelligent force, creative, but not directive. The personality dominates the law. Both law and personality, principle and presence, are necessary to a universe of self-expression. The understanding of how best to balance these two, the personal and impersonal elements, is what constitutes a correct knowledge of our relationship to the invisible. From our use of this relationship, we reap either bondage or freedom. All right, and I'm going to say something else just in case my voice has gotten monotone and you want to fall asleep, because this is, it's deep stuff, but, it could put you to sleep. I know. We should not confuse the law as an impersonal force with God, the universal spirit. God is infinite person, individualized in each of us, making our nature like God's and giving us the same dominion in our field of action that the universal spirit has in its field. Or I could just mess up words. That'll keep you awake. Then notice we have the same power of God in our field. Okay? In our field. We don't have all of the power of God, just what directly relates to us. All right? The law is the servant of the spirit of people, even as it is the servant of the spirit of God. Our word moves upon the face of the deep just as truly as the originating creative word moved. In the beginning means the eternal process of creation. We are always specializing this creative law, but generally in ignorance, and that is where the problem happens. The problem is we don't know that we are using the law, therefore we are not using it constructively, and frequently we are using it destructively, okay? Ignorance of the law excuses no one from its effects. For that which we call good or evil, abundance or lack, are but two ways that the one fundamental principle operates. It neither lacks nor is limited, nor can we say that it is less in a small form or a great or greater in a large form, since our idea of size is entirely relative. For example, his example, not mine. For example, if the physical plane upon which we are living were suddenly reduced to a mile in diameter and everything else were reduced correspondingly, we should never realize that anything had happened. If, on the other hand, it suddenly expanded to an infinite diameter and everything else expanded correspondingly, we should never know that this had happened. But we know big and little, or think we do. Hence, we set the law in motion for the creation of what we conceive, and we say that bigness expands our experience and littleness contracts it. Therefore, the experience is contracted or expanded according to our concept. This is the personal element working upon the impersonal, and it is just this possibility which guarantees our freedom. Okay. All right, Ernest. When we know how this law works and how to use it, we can specialize it for a new purpose. We can use the power which has bound us to create the freedom we desire. We wish joy instead of tears, success instead of failure, life instead of death. We cannot change the nature of the law, nor can we change the nature of our being, but we can think and act differently, and the law, being subjective to our thought, must change its tendency towards us. In no way do we neutralize the law of cause and effect. We merely use it in a different way. And that's the important thing. We can't change the law, but we can change our mind. And it wasn't this Sunday, but I think it was the Sunday before where Jesse said, do you want to be doing something different, or do you want to be doing something differently? And it makes a difference, because we can't change the way we can't change the way the law works, but we can change the way we use the law. Make sense? All right. The law, having no purpose of its own, having no intention of its own about us, is compelled to take the color of our dominant thought and create after that pattern. We, being persons, can change our thought and thereby remold our conditions. Indeed, this is the great realization of freedom, and to understand this is to understand how we may be released from bondage. Not to understand this compels us to remain in bondage until enlightenment comes. The law, undirected, does nothing. It is merely a natural energy in a spiritual world, or a spiritual energy in a natural world, whichever way we think of it. It is the law of cause and effect, and we are using it every moment of our lives. Of course, our greatest use of it is through the subjective channels of our thought. Hence, these subjective channels must be clarified and reorganized. Organize your mind. That's why I'm always talking about, you want to go look at your idea of God, because that influences a lot of what you do. If you think God's judging you all the time, it's going to change which I thought was really interesting, because he talked about Father's Day, and he was like, well, and then we made God after the image of the parent that's harder to please. And we wonder why we're always groveling. Okay. The unconscious mental reaction must be redirected, for it is this subjective side of the individual which at all times reflects itself into the universal creative law. And the law, in its turn, molds the image into form and passes it back to us as an actual everyday experience. It seems self-evident that the law knows us as the sum total of what we believe ourselves to be. And when we add this fact to what we know ourselves to be, or think ourselves to be, wait, what? Hang on. Nope. I think I've lost the thread of that. It seems self-evident that the law knows us as the sum total of what we believe ourselves to be. And when we add to this the fact that what we know ourselves to be, or think ourselves to be, is largely subjective or subconscious, we realize that the law knows each individual from the viewpoint of what the race thought proclaims to be true about all individuals, that is, about each individual as one of a class, plus what the individual has learned about themselves. Okay. So, it's taking everything that we think about the group that we think we belong to, plus what we think about ourselves, and adding that together. Okay? Because it's all one, right? We're all using the same mind. We should think this over carefully and come to a definite understanding of what it means, for it is of the utmost importance that we can see that, as individuals, we have not really thought ourselves into limitation. What has happened is that the belief in limitation has operated through us, and our agreement with this belief has tended to vitalize it. See, that's what I'm talking about. We don't believe in limitations on a personal level, but because we believe in limitations on a race conscious level, we unconsciously accept those limitations. Now, if we allow that belief to operate through us. Now, what we can do is change our minds and go, you know what? They can believe that, but I don't. And you can free yourself from the race-conscious idea of limitation. You can free yourself from the race-conscious idea of just about anything. Now, that is hardball metaphysics, but it is possible. Talk to Emma Curtis Hopkins because she believed it. We must reverse the whole process definitely and deliberately. This is exactly what Jesus meant when he said that it is done unto us as we believe. The new patterns of belief must be found in a higher consciousness and a deeper realization of the person's position in the creative order as a dispenser of the divine gifts and as a recipient of the infinite will and willingness. That's a lot of ways of saying we're divine distributors, only to the point that we believe we are. Okay? We need to repudiate the belief that we are bound. We need to know that the spirit within us is now free, complete, and perfect. There is not a person living who cannot change their thought, at least somewhat. We can all improve and broaden our mental reaction right where we are. And with each new and better mental outlook, there will come a corresponding reaction in our objective world. Which is one of the reasons why we frequently talk about meeting people where they are. We don't want to, and that's what grace does. Grace meets us where we are, but does not leave us where it found us. Okay? Meet people where they are, but hopefully their interactions with you will up-level them. In actual practice, we must be definite. One of the main troubles with us is that we fail to realize that abstractions are not all that is necessary. The study of philosophy, no matter how spiritual it may be, will avail us but little from a practical viewpoint unless we definitely use the knowledge that we have acquired. To understand the working of the law is knowledge, but to use it constructively is wisdom. Okay? And this is one of those things where people accuse Ernest of being too much into theory, but the whole reason he named us practitioners is because that's what he wants us to do. Go and practice. Learn the theory and then go try it out. Road test it. Daily, we must consciously reverse our position in the law, knowing that we are no longer subject to the race suggestion of lack, limitation, want, or fear. Knowing that the Spirit is with us and for us and operating through us. Knowing that the all good is ours, and specifically declaring that the particular good we desire is now made manifest. A person who has everything which they desire in life except friendship should accept the good they already have and add friendship to this good. The individual who may be enjoying all good friendships but who lacks supply should accept these friendships and add to this idea of life a belief in the presence of supply. The one who may have friendship and supply but lacks physical well-being should accept friendship and supply but continue to specialize the law for physical healing. There is nothing too great and nothing too small. Whatever the need is, we should seek to meet it through specializing the law. Now, when we're saying this, specializing the law, sometimes that includes finding a new doctor. So don't just think sometimes it means that somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I had this really great experience with this doctor. That can be the answer to you specializing the law. Okay. Don't think it has to be this, like Jesse gave the example of, God rolling down and or an angel rolling down and handing you a new car. Sometimes it's a casual conversation with a customer, with somebody who says, hey, I had a similar experience to you and I went here and did this. That can also, it's not always going to be supernatural. Most of the time it's not. Most of the time your miracles are every day. So, in teaching others to do this for themselves, be careful to explain to them that they should not accept this philosophy as merely a scientific belief or a beautiful system of thought or as a new attitude towards religion. All these things it is, But the fact is that all of these things will never cause it to do anything in particular for anyone. It must be used. 3 paragraphs left. When the pioneer settlers discovered the prairies, it would not have been enough for them to exclaim, "What fertile soil! What wonderful harvest it will bring forth! How bountiful is nature! How beautiful the scenery! How marvelous is the vastness, and how good is God to have led us here!" All such exclamations would have been true, but they would have never produced a harvest. We have followed the old patterns of thought so long that transformation from the old to the new position is generally rather slow, and the mental ascent into the consciousness of completion seems beset by many obstructions. Hence, faith and expectancy are necessary, and above all, a great inner flexibility. You got to be able to change mind. If you are teaching these principles, you should insist that those to whom they are taught must use them and must never take no for an answer. The law knows only to agree. It reaffirms our negation and presents us with bondage as easily as with freedom. But is not the knowledge that we can change bondage into freedom one of the greatest joys we can contemplate? I hope so. I hope so. Okay, we'll pick up tomorrow with the law of mental equivalence. That was a whole lot of dry philosophy. But in the end, the biggest thing is you have the power to change your mind. And that is literally what you have to do. You have to change your mind. We like to say we're running on old tapes. We're running on old patterns. And frequently we are. And we have allowed the race consciousness to operate through us. And at some point, we got to stand up and go, you know what? No, I'm done. Let's do this a new way. And then keep reminding ourselves that we are doing it a new way. There. All right. I have got to go. So I am now going to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a take care of business day, a let's get this week started off right day, a go dance in the rain day, a stay out of the thunder and lightning day, a drink plenty of water day, a cuddle your fur babies day, a tell somebody you love them day, a do something silly for yourself day, an eat something amazing day, a good day, and if that is too much pressure, because I understand, sometimes it is, simply have a day. You are enough, just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are a brilliant light, a divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, a beautiful masterpiece, and a work in progress at the same time, at your own pace. Very important part there. And as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. All right, beloveds. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. Oh, no. Explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be. Because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, all things are possible. Very important point. All things are possible. Okay. Now, Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you around 9-ish. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.